Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Live your life. Take chances. Be crazy. Don't wait. Because right now is the oldest you've ever been and the youngest you'll ever be. Wow. Good morning, and Patriots, call in right now for the Pledge of Allegiance. Here's Kate Smith, and God bless America. I really would appreciate hearing a Patriot this morning. I love you. Thank you. And a good morning to you and yours. And boy, do I feel good being back here in the saddle for the program this morning. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now, I want to remind you, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of whatever kind of tires you need. Don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And last but not least, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And now, one of my friends, good morning. You're on the air with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless you, Jerry, and thank you for your call earlier. And by the way, real quick while you're on the air, this Thursday will be Lunch Bunch. We'll see you there, Jerry. Thank you so much.
Okay, you have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I want to go to the weather right now, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. For the best of tools and equipment, whatever you need, long and short-term rental, they've got it. You better believe it. Look at their great big front yard just full of equipment. Nice people, Roger and the crew at K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Give them a call, 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mostly cloudy skies and maybe some rain showers for the end of the day, and it's going to be warming up as we make our way through the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies today. 30% chance of rain showers by later on this afternoon. High of 40 tonight. About a 60% chance of rain and or snow showers likely. Accumulations of less than a half of an inch possible. Expecting a low of 30. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies. High of 38. Mostly cloudy 42 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, very slight chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the low 40s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you for a lot of things, including our weather forecast. And don't forget, too, they've got the best of tools and equipment. And if you're not sure what you need, all you got to do is get on the landline, give them a call at 678-3122. They will tell you. They'll help you. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. You get a hold of them today. Want to also acknowledge dear friends over at Daryl's Cleaners. I mean, man, oh man, we've been going in there for a long time and taking our rumply crumplies in to get cleaned and pressed and looking good. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. My goodness, they're there to serve you, so please don't put it off. You got a great big pile of clothes in the closet. I can see them laying there. You better take them in right now to Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Want to also acknowledge real quick, and then I've got a kind of a special announcement I want to make, that our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Oberlin Avenue in Burley. And they've been in business almost 7 decades, serving you with the best of heating, cooling, and electrical needs. They are the best. They've stood the test, and they're there hopefully for another 7 decades. I mean, my goodness sakes, get a hold of them today at 678-0459. Open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. I want to take a moment and kind of share with you, not all information, but I want to share with you a little bit of what's been going on. I have been having a lot of health problems since prior to Thanksgiving. And there's been medication, doctors. Nothing was ever doing the job. And last week, I'm glad that I had the day off. And Sharon took the show over on Thursday last week. And we've been having some increasing alarm bells going off. And without elaborating, everything came to a major turning point on Sunday night. And with my wonderful, absolutely wonderful wife leading the charge, it was back to the hospital, back for more tests, and finally, the problem has been found out. And I feel like a great big brick has been taken off my top of my head, literally, not my shoulders. And so I apologize for missing the program yesterday. But I want to thank Wheels. I want to thank Gina. I want to thank all the people for their kind remarks and their thoughts and prayers, including all of our legislative people that have called. Thank you. It really meant a lot to me. And we will do our best to keep serving the advertisers and sponsors of this program. And things this morning are on a very much better paved highway, I'll just say. And so we're doing better. So thank you very, very much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location serving you at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. They've got absolutely delicious menu choices. That's really kind of a problem for you, because you're going to sit there and go, well, I'm not sure. Well, this looks great. Well, what about this? You're going to have a hard time deciding, which leads me to say just go back more often to Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we're going to be over there this week Thursday on the 23rd. Yep. And our thanks go out to Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's, all of them for helping supply door prizes for our Lunch Bunch event. I'm looking forward to it. I think more so this week than any other. And all of this at Denny's, America's Diner. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Real quick, coming up in a matter of days, as a matter of fact, is the great big 2020 Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce annual installation banquet. It's going to be on the 30th. My goodness, that's next week. Holy moly. And it's going to be at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. Doors open at 6 p.m. It's an evening of fun, dinner, auction, installation of board of directors, honoring other outstanding individuals. Going to be a lot of fun. Get your tickets now. Call the Chamber office at 679-4973. 679-4973. Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce installation banquet on the 30th. Don't you miss it. All right, your turn. Please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. President Trump is in Davos, Switzerland today, right now, speaking, and his main speech took place at 4 a.m. our time this morning at the World Economic Summit. And I got up, listened to the bulk of his speech. It was extremely positive. It was extremely loaded with facts and figures and pluses and minuses and everything involving the economic standard, if you will, of where we are right now in this country. And all the time I was listening, and watching and hearing these facts, which are verifiable about our economy and how our economy is affecting everyone's economy around the world, I thought, what is going on at the other networks? Now, Fox was carrying his speech from Davos, Switzerland, live. So I put my fingers on the little channel changer, bit my tongue, and turned to CNN. At the same time that the president was giving a very, very optimistic outlook as to not only our economy, but how it also affects all the world economies and everything looking better, CNN was sitting there with about 8 or 9 people in their studio. Woe is us. Oh, we got to get rid of Trump. Oh, we have to impeach Trump. The impeachment proceedings are starting this morning. We've got to get rid of this man. Oh, evil, evil. Everything was negative. I could not believe how the Democrats are like rabid dogs. And that's not being fair to the dogs. Over the potentiality, they think, of impeaching President Donald Trump. What have they got to stand on? I dare, and I double dare, if you will, anyone out in the audience right now, whether you're driving up and down the interstate, whether you're staying at a hotel, whether you're getting up with a cup of coffee in your kitchen, sitting there listening to this program, I dare anyone to come up and call me right now on the air and tell me what absolutely bona fide facts you have that Trump has done something illegal or impeachable. Go ahead, the line's open. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I don't think he's done anything wrong. In fact, I think he's going to be acquitted in the Senate, and the Democrats are going to, again, try to bring more articles of impeachment afterwards.
Oh, they will. You know, Rodney, that's very perceptive of you because that beautiful lady that always has a smile on her face, and I'm kidding, Maxine Waters from California has basically said what you've just said. In so many words, she said, well, if we don't get him this time, we'll keep on trying to impeach him on something else. The Democrats are incensed with absolutely going after this man and destroying him, his family, and everything else in his administration. And I think the American public is seeing through their smokescreen.
Yep, and I'll bet 10-1 after 2024, after he has served out his next term as president, they'll probably be trying to find a way to press criminal charges against him.
I would not be surprised if you're correct on that. I think all options are on the table right now for these demented Democrats, and I'm lumping them all together because I have no respect for their party. And, Rodney, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Oh, and one other thing. Did you hear what Maxine Waters said one time?
Well, what are you talking?
She wanted Trump thrown in prison in solitary confinement.
Yeah. I mean, this woman is absolutely, when you think of the word evil, just look at Maxine. Thank you so much, Rod. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll catch you later.
All right, buddy. Thank you much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is a never-ending saga. And, you know, here's my bottom line on this. We are doing so well in this country in turning around negativity from the Obama administration and, quite frankly, some from the Trump administration, too. But we're turning it around and making this country bigger, better, and greater again. Oh, you don't like that? Well, that's the truth. And I absolutely wonder if maybe the Democrats are so obsessed with getting rid of Trump as he being the figurehead of bigger, better, and a more prosperous future, because they can't compete. They don't have anyone standing up there at their little bitty podiums that can do anything like what Trump has accomplished and wants to accomplish. Nobody. Don't give me the Joe Biden. Don't give me the waving her arms and looking like one of those display deals out in front of a business. Ooh, bending in the wind, Elizabeth Warren. Don't give me commie Bernie Sanders. Don't give me any of those people. None of them have the ability to do what is currently being done and for the future. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, folks. I really want your calls because, boy, first day back in a couple of days, and I feel good, and let's talk. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service, and they're located over on the other side of the river and ready to serve everybody in southern Idaho with the best, the absolute best of septic tank pumping and backhoe services, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, liquid waste removal. These people are so nice, and they are so good. Fast, fair, friendly service. Call them, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Dino Septic Service with that big truck that says smells cargo on the way. You give them a call today. You know, I'm going to go on the attack more than ever this year because I absolutely don't want anyone out there in the audience to kind of take on a blasé attitude of, oh, well, Trump's going to win, big deal. No, we can't do that. We've got to all go to the polls. We've all got to fight back. We've got to show the Democrats in absolutely huge numbers, a huge slap in their face. We don't want them. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I think what we ought to have done, somebody ought to investigate all these Democrats, see if they've got any ties to America at all. It just seems like they're out there to try and destroy us.
Yeah.
They're about worse than any of our enemies have ever been.
Can you, and I want you to be, I don't want you to be facetious on this, I want you to be straight-laced. Can you name me one of their party platforms that would be good and or better than what we're seeing from the Trump administration? Go ahead.
I can't name a single thing. They're just absolutely out to destroy this country. They want to destroy our medical system. They want to destroy our education system. They want to destroy our economy. You know, under Trump, under Obama, our economy was never gained over 1%. Just as soon as Trump got in, our economy started moving.
Yep.
Our stock market went up. Everything's just been better. You know, it ain't going to be instantly better for the country, but the longer he's there, the better it gets, and the longer he's there, the better it'll get.
And it's not only the economy, it's, I believe, the absolute policies of being tough, carrying a big stick and not using it unless you have to. I don't like our president to be cowed. I don't like our president to bow to other leaders like Obama did. I don't like our president to just sit there and think more of other nations as far as sending pallets of money in appeasement to another country that wants to kill us. And I don't see that from Trump, and I'm thanking God every day that we've got him in as our president.
Well, he killed a lot of our soldiers with his policies, and that was a disgrace to the world.
You're talking about Obama, right?
Absolutely have no respect for Trump.
Right.
Not Trump, Obama.
Yeah, I was going to say, clarify who you're talking about when you say that, because I want you to be...
A little tired and a little old.
No, don't worry about that, but it was through the Obama administration that we went downhill fast like a toboggan and 6 people on it, and now we're trying to rectify that and put it back at the top of the hill. Jerry, God bless you, and thanks for your call, my friend.
May the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
He has, believe me.
Keeping on.
Thank you. I've realized God's blessings in the last couple of days. I really, really have. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here, today, the Democrats are just all lit up like cheap little fake Christmas trees Oh, we're going to impeach the president. Why, gung-ho, they say. We're going to go after him. And yet here over at Davos, Switzerland, the ultimate change in philosophy. I mean, here stood the president and all these leaders from the nations were listening to the great economic forecast and what's going on. And then at home, we've got these absolute NRB, not real bright Democrats trying to impeach this man. Wow. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is not about Trump. This is about Mr. Zeb Bell, who is nationally and worldwide known. And it's so good to hear you back on the radio again. God bless you.
Well, that is, you're going to make my eyes turn bubbly. That's very nice of you. And to all the people that called like you, that have wished us well, I thank you so much. That's very, very kind.
Well, I mean it from my heart. So you have a wonderful day, and you and Deanna, and be super, super careful, okay?
Thank you very, very much. Wow. That lady's a very, very nice lady. And, yeah, the last couple of days have been a real tough walk up the hill. And I appreciate all the kind comments and everything. We've had health problems in the past. This one was about to get me. And I can't thank enough my lovely bride and everybody else that was jumping in to offer prayers and well wishes. Thank you. And I honestly feel this morning, that we're on the right track. And the horse is saddled, and we're going to win. So thank you. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. That was very kind of her. Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. And believe me, when it comes to the equipment you need for all the lifting, the digging, the grading, the leveling, and all the tough jobs, they've got the tough equipment for you. And all you got to do is just stop in and see them or give them a call. I mean, hey, they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. They've got all the Bobcats of every size and shape. They got a new inventory, and they're just waiting to serve you, and serve you they will. At Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, the best at Berry Equipment and Rental. All right, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The impeachment trial is starting today. I believe they're going to start at our time, 11 o'clock. And here's what I think should be done. Maybe you don't disagree. Maybe you disagree. I don't know, but give me a call and let me know. There have been those that have written articles to our paper in the op-ed section that have said, well, we've got to go on, and we've got to have all these witnesses. Wait a minute. No, we don't. The House of Representatives was in charge of formulating a case against Donald Trump. The House of Representatives thought they had everything with their ducks in a row before they presented the articles of impeachment to the United States Senate. So it's not the Senate's responsibility to go in and open up another exam period, if you will. They are supposed to take the information that has been provided to them by the House and come up with a yay or a nay against the president on possible impeachment. It's not the Senate's responsibility to open this thing back up to a can of worms that'll never be closed. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Glad to hear you're having a good morning. The Burley Senior menu today is finger steaks, steak fries, salad, cook's choice of dessert, and I'm sure it'll be good.
Joe, let me ask you, when you eat finger steaks, what kind of a sauce do you like to dip your finger steaks in?
Well, finger steaks are just a good dinner. Come and join us.
I will, Joe. You take care of yourself, and that's all at the Senior Center on Overland Avenue. Joe Taylor, my buddy, thank you so much.
Have a good one. morning.
All right, sir. Thank you. There's a man that just absolutely deserves all the respect we can give him. He's done an outstanding job here in the Magic Valley. Joe Taylor, thank you so much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The question I got, if you'll read the Constitution, of which I have 3 or 4 copies that are dog-eared and heavily laden with highlighter in every one of my areas of the desk, the Senate doesn't have to be told what to do by anybody from the House. That's not the way the game is played. The Senate is absolutely an entity above the House, and they are not to be told how to do things, what to do, and who's going to do it. That doesn't happen that way. And I hope that Mitch McConnell will sit back and just look at Pelosi and look at Schumer and say, sit down, take an aspirin, and if you don't feel better in the morning, maybe seek medical advice, because you're not going to tell us what to do. This balderdash, there's another word I wanted to use, but I can't. This balderdash of the House and Pelosi and Schumer crying the blues and saying, well, they're not being fair, that's the Democrats' fault. If their case hasn't been complete, and their list of witnesses wasn't complete in testifying during the House hearings, that's their fault. I sincerely hope, and I mean this, that after all this is presented in all the formalities at the Senate chambers starting today, I sincerely hope that after everything has been presented, somebody, be it a Ted Cruz or whomever, will stand up and make a motion to vote and get this garbage over with. It's time, hopefully the Republicans tell the Democrats, put your tail between your legs and run for home. And end it. End it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yesterday, my being gone, of course, we didn't have the Idaho legislative update, and we will be back on track again next Monday, and Senator Kelly Anthon will be the guest, sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. Boy, they've been serving businesses all over the Northwest since I'm trying to remember, what has it been, 1928 or 1918? Man, they are great, great people. Clay Handy and the staff at Handy Truck Lines. Don't forget that. Every Monday at 10:30, Idaho Legislative Update. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. On the Senate trial that's coming up, I've heard a lot of argument that it should be dismissed, it should go to trial, it should be acquitted. What needs to happen is they go in and let the Democrats throw out their case, which wouldn't hold water. About like a cauldron, when you pour water through it, it just runs on through. And then let the president's team step up and present their case. And then, like you say, they should go to a vote, and he should be found not guilty.
Oh, yeah. Well, whoa, stop, Doug. Wait a minute. What are the charges from the House that are absolutely laid out with great explicitity that show that Donald Trump committed any wrong? Please tell me. I'm waiting.
There is 0 crimes. A lot of hurt feelings, but 0 crimes.
Oh, my.
There is not a crime or a statute that they can state that President Trump committed.
Yeah. I mean, how would you feel?
Dismiss it. If they dismiss it, then the Democrats are going to say it's a cover-up and it's been dismissed. He hasn't been found not guilty.
Yeah.
They need to go and come up with a not guilty charge, throw this thing out so he can be found not guilty for forever.
How would you feel if all of a sudden there was a knock on your office door today And somebody came in, and they were heavily armed, and there's 2 or 3 guys, and they said, Doug Martin, you're under arrest. Well, what charge? Well, just come with us. You're under arrest. We are going to do all this investigating. We're going to have a hearing. We're going to have everything else. Well, on what charge? Well, just shut up and sit down over there. You're entitled to legal counsel, but we believe that you're guilty, this, that, and the other thing. On what charge? Well, just don't bother us. We'll have all of this figured out when we go to court. What kind of a society is it where you're guilty and somebody can point the finger at you and say you're going to go to jail when you don't even know what the charges are?
It is called a third world country. It is what they do in Cuba. It's what they do in Venezuela. It's what they did in Russia and in Germany with all of the people they gathered up with no charges and even put them to death where they hadn't committed any crimes. It's a third world country, and that's what they want this country to be.
Yeah.
The Democrats do not. There might be a few of them, like Alan Dershowitz. He is for the Constitution.
Yes.
And I respect that man. But there's a lot of Democrats in power. That's all they want is power. They want to control you.
When it comes to Schumer and Pelosi and Adam Schiff and Swalwell and the others, I just wish that the Senate would vote today on the passage of maybe a $750 bill. You know what they could use that money for?
What?
A new set of monkey bars so these idiots on the left can spend the day climbing on monkey bars.
Well, you have the left has no plan to keep America great or push America forward in world standing. I have yet to see a platform or hear a platform what the Democrats are going to run on to keep this country the way it is.
Well, excellent point. Excellent point. Okay, the stock market is way up. Our economy is growing. World leaders were speaking about the Trump economy at Davos, Switzerland this morning, about how the great economy here is helping their economies. Why in the world, Doug, simple question, would anybody with any diploma from any high school, let alone college, sit there and go, well, we're going to throw Trump out of office? Why? Well, we don't know why, but we don't like him. Well, what about the economy and everything he's created? Well, we don't care. We're going to follow Elizabeth Warren, and we're going to go to higher taxes, and we're going to live a lot less because of some stupid socialistic value program they want to promote. That's idiocy, Doug.
It is idiocy. And that's exactly what the Democrats want. And when they can push their agenda, what do they have? They have control.
Yeah.
When you take over control of the health care, a single-payer plan that they want, then you can dictate who gets medical care, who does not get medical care. If you're not contributing to society, then you don't get medical care. I spend money on you when you're not making us money. That's just like a rancher on his cows. Once the cow gets old enough where it's not producing and making him money, then the cow goes to the market.
Yep. And in the Democrats' case, they are only thinking about absolutely overturning and destroying everything that this country really has as a value. Our Constitution, our First and Second Amendments, and the list goes on and on. They can't stand Trump, and they've got a control package they want to re-implement if they take over power.
Exactly. And look at Virginia yesterday.
Oh, don't get me started.
But the Fox program followed it. They had a few interviews in it. There was no violence whatsoever.
No, absolutely.
Not one single one of those guns went off and hurt somebody.
That governor from Virginia needs to be recalled. That Governor Nordstrom from Virginia is nothing more than a rabble-rouser for the left. That governor is not a governor. I absolutely looked at him with a sickening look on my face as to how anybody could be in politics and be that stupid. He absolutely was saying that it's going to be Armageddon. He was saying beforehand it's a state of emergency. We've got to call out the National Guard. These guns gun owners are all white nationals and they're Nazis and everything else. They didn't even have an arrest yesterday.
One arrest. A 21-year-old girl refused to move her mask off her face.
Yeah. Wow.
But if you'd have watched mainstream media and their coverage of it, it was chaos, total chaos.
Yeah. And it was not. It was extremely calm. I don't know how else to describe it, but yet the media in this country is just absolutely going nuts, knowing the fact that they want to be contributing sources into taking every single gun from every single legal, honest, church-going gun owner away so that we can protect ourselves. And I urge the audience listening right now, if you feel the need for a gun to protect yourself, get it. Get it. The government and law enforcement cannot be there in a time of dire circumstances. You are the protection source for you and your family.
Just like that church in Texas, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that because did you hear that Mike Bloomberg, a so-called Democratic candidate for the presidency, came out and really blasted that person that saved all those church members? Mike Bloomberg said, and I'm trying to find the quote, and let me bear with me just a second. He said, "It may be true that someone in the congregation had his own gun and killed the person who murdered two other people, but it's the job of law enforcement to have guns and to decide when to shoot. You just do not want the average citizen carrying a gun in a crowded place." I thank God that man, Mr. Wilson, was there with a gun.
Yes, and that's when evil can be defeated when good people stand up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I thank God for that guy, but it took 6 seconds to end that.
Yep.
Had they waited for police, the man had a shotgun with double-aught buck in it.
Yep.
That's each time. What is there? 8 BBs, 8 pellets in a double-aught, or 10. Well, that's like shooting 10 people at one time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's each time he pulled the trigger, there's 8 or 10 of those pellets going out there, and they can cause a lot of damage.
We do not want to live in a world, and I'm going to say this once, and I'll say it to any Democrat that wants to come on this program. We do not want to live in a world with a complete lack of values, a lack of courage, and a lack of personality that the Democrats are trying to employ across the board in taking all the control over the American people. I will not subdue myself to following their idiocy.
I won't either. And as soon as we can bring back equal justice under the law, no two-tiered justice system, because as long as they can keep getting away with stepping on the Constitution, illegal contributions, and siphoning money out of the government into their families, as soon as we can stop that and bring them to justice, then we can get our government back.
Amen.
But as long as we have a two-tier justice system, we are just barking in the wind.
I agree. I got to run. I'm way over on my weather forecast, buddy. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers. Go say hi to Joe or any senior center around the Magic Valley. Let's go support them.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. See you at Lunch Bunch on Thursday. Thank you. Don't forget, time for the weather quickly, and the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and they care about your hearing health. Absolutely, I urge you to call and make a hearing screening appointment at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, and they're dedicated. They have expert diagnostic tests that can help you and your hearing. So please call them today at 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mostly cloudy skies and maybe some rain showers for the end of the day, and it's going to be warming up as we make our way through the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies today. 30% chance of rain showers by later on this afternoon. High of 40 tonight. About a 60% chance of rain and or snow showers likely. Accumulations of less than a half of an inch possible. Expecting a low of 30. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies. High of 38. Mostly cloudy 42 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, Very slight chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the low 40s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Gina. And don't forget our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They really are caring, and they are concerned about your hearing health. Please don't put it off. Call them for an appointment today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. I cannot say enough about the Idaho legislature and state representative, I hope I say her name correctly with the pronunciation, Barbara Ehard, and I salute her. As a matter of fact, I am going to try to get this lady on our program in the next couple of days, if she's not too busy as a state representative with the legislative session going on right now. I'll tell you why. Because she plans to introduce a bill that would require, now listen carefully to this, plans to introduce a bill that would require biologically male athletes to compete only on boys' sports teams, regardless of whether they identify as a transgender girl or not. This is legislation that you're saying, oh, well, there's better things to do. No, there's not. This is a story that is growing in fear across the United States. Girls are being subjected to allowing and letting males compete in their events, basketball, soccer, running track, whatever it is, and the males are taking home all the accolades and the prizes in girls' sports. This is sick. It's demented. It's got to stop. And Idaho State Representative Barbara Ehart is going to introduce this bill, and I absolutely am going to support her on this program for that bill to pass. There should never be a question in the state of Idaho, ever, that a biologic male would ever be allowed to compete on any girls' teams whatsoever. And I thank her, State Representative Barbara Ehart, that she's introducing this bill to make sure that men compete against men, girls compete against girls. Thank you, Barbara. And lead on. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see, what else have I got here this morning. We're going to be seeing the impeachment fiasco start at about 1 o'clock. Here's something that's scary that really bothers me. Some of the verbiage that's coming out from these left-loon liberals, and they are, that they make it sound like if they win, they are going to round up all of us Trumpy supporters and Trumpists and maybe do away with us. I was listening to this man is so vile and also so stupid. I can't imagine why they keep putting him in front of a national microphone or television. James Carville with the Democrats. He said over the weekend that us Trumpists, those that support this president and those that support what this president is doing, are dangerous. Oh, we're sinister, and we need to be purged. What do they mean by that? Purged. Are we all of a sudden going to see great big 18-wheelers pull in our yard and say, jump in the back, and they shut the door along with many, many others they've already gathered up? You know, the Democrats are clearly showing and telling us what they want to do if they regain power. They want everything as far as our energy programs, our health programs, our tax money. They want control of you and I, baby. Everything. And then the scary part is, if you go against us, we're going to get you. Wow. I really fear that a lot of people are maybe thinking November's election is a slam dunk. Oh, well, Trump's going to win. I don't have to bother going to the polls. I hope you don't feel that way. If you're a supporter of what's been going very well for this country for the last 3 years, and you want to see it to continue for another 4 years with Donald Trump as our president, I urge everybody to go vote in November. Don't listen to anybody about saying it's a slam dunk. It is not. Think about the day after the election. You wake up, turn your radio or TV on, and find out that we have the likes of Elizabeth Warren or Bernie or Joe Biden as President of the United States. Think about how absolute and definitive it's going to be against you and future progress and growth for you and your family in the future. Woo! It'll knock your socks off. That's a nightmare. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I noticed, and I had a little story, and I'm trying to find it, that the fruits and nuts on the left are starting their frivolous and very, very dumb lawsuits against fuel companies, saying that the fuel companies are trying to kill them by the usage of fossil fuels. There's going to be a lot more to come on this, and the organizations that are promoting this, of course, are the Soros people and the Bloomberg people and others. Oh, we got to get rid of all the fossil fuels. We've got to totally destroy a very superb energy program that now is in this country, and we've got to go to the archaic and absolutely stupid green energy like Idaho Power is. Well, I'll tell you something, folks. We need to start suing them. We need to start suing them for higher costs of electricity and for saying that they can do this and that, and it's not as reliable a power, but you're going to pay for it anyway. We need to start suing them for transitioning the power away from something that absolutely is absolute into something that's frivolously stupid. Green energy. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about our major sponsor, and then I'll take your call at, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are the best at what they do. Farmers, ranchers, dairymen, hey, listen, you need tires for your loaders. You need tires for your backhoes, your skid steers. What are you waiting for? Just call Les Schwab, any one of the 7 locations. They'll be there. They get there early in the morning and start warming up those service trucks to go all over the valley to serve you. I'm telling you, they've got all your tires. I don't care if you just need tires for a wheelbarrow. They got them. Well, by golly, you better get a hold of them today. And they serve you. The best of all your tires and, of course, absolutely excellent brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. You know, there is something that does bother me a bit, that there are folks that feel that this is the end times, and this is the bad things are going to happen like this in the end times. I pray that they will get out and vote.
Linda, you are a very astute Christian lady, and you know what I'm about to tell you is absolutely the truth. Within every generation, there has been the wanton cries of, oh, Armageddon, we're at the end of the world. There's always been that in every generation, correct?
Yes.
And does not God also say within the biblical prophecy that we should keep on keeping on because only He knows when the end times will come?
That is correct. That's what concerns me.
Well,
those guys are kind of, this is the end times. I pray that they will stand up for right and continue to vote.
I do too, because I think a blasé attitude of, like I said earlier, that it's a slam dunk, Trump's going to win, that's the attitude that absolutely will hurt him and might not get him elected.
I know. Yeah. All we have to have is good people not doing anything for evil to happen.
Very well said. Linda, I appreciate your call. Thank you, and it's good to hear from you, my dear. Take care, and we'll see you at Lunch Bunch on Thursday.
Thank you.
All righty. God bless. Thank you. That lady is such a great singer. Caller, I've got about a minute left. Quickly, go.
Well, you know what? In between the beginning of Obama's presidency to the end, 8 years of, the first 3 were, I was just mortified. And now you look at what's happened because the people went out and changed the direction of their future. And yesterday, the amount of
quickly
gun-toting Americans that showed up at the capital of Virginia showed me that there's good people everywhere, including that state. And so, yes, we have control because we have free agency.
Absolutely.
And it's up to us to...
Are you there?
Pull the blinds and say to hell with it.
I agree with you. Hey, Randy, I appreciate your comments. I just wish you'd have called in a little earlier. I got to run to the news, but thank you. God bless you, man.
I've been busy.
All right, thanks. We're going to be back at 9:06 with a gentleman by the name of Jerry Samika, and we're going to be talking about the economy, so don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch, Wheels, take it away. Oh, good morning, and boy, I just thank the good Lord above that I'm back here on the radio again this morning. Thank you for all your kind remarks. I appreciate that. Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires, all your tires. You get a hold of them today. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, old buddy Old Wheels has this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia Circle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
I really salute Western Waste, and they are in the middle of a program called Trash Cancer, the Power in Pink program, where they dedicate funds to help various cancer programs at hospitals around the area. I urge you to call them at 734-6969 and ask them about the Pink Garbage Cart program. And I know Deanne and I are going to do that, and we urge you to do the same. Check it out today. Call them and help fight cancer, trash cancer, through our friends at Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Want to also remind you, too, big deal's going to happen. Big deals are coming. I'm telling you, it's going to be happening on Thursday next week, the 30th, the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce annual installation banquet at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. Oh, buddy, doors open at 6 o'clock, dinner, auction, installation of board of directors for the chamber, honoring outstanding individuals. Going to be fun. Absolutely, you better get your tickets at 679-4973. Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce annual installation banquet. Don't you miss it. One more good word, and then we'll go to our guest. I also want to say a big shout-out and thank you to our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, and they are the new owners, as you know, of Elite Fitness at 1200 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Well, if you're aching and paining and trying to recoup from a surgery or an accident, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation is there to serve you and help you get back to being you. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call, 678-1191. They know all the exercises, and they have the only one-of-its-kind hydrotherapy pools in the entire area of Southern Idaho. So get a hold of them. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. This next gentleman that's due to come on the program has been extremely cordial. He was scheduled to come on the program yesterday, and I was gone. And I called him, and I said, can you come on Wednesday? And he said, yeah, I can come on Wednesday. Then we made a change, and now here he is on Tuesday. A man that's been bounced around more than a ping pong ball. Good morning, Jerry Samika. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back, and I appreciate all your patience on the changing of the scheduling.
Happy to be with you and your listeners.
I want to ask you, did I say your last name correctly, Jerry? I didn't want to mispronounce it.
I think so. I don't know if there's actually an approved version of it, but it was close enough, so it caught my attention, so that works just fine.
I've got to ask you, I haven't had a chance to read it in its entirety. I was just given it this morning, article that you had written, about time to modernize archaic environmental rules. God bless you. I am so glad that people around the United States are realizing where we have been over the last 10 years, 12 years with the EPA and all their standards and their control factors, etc. This is idiocy, and it's time to repeal a lot of what they've done wrong. I'll let you expand on it. Go ahead.
Sure, there's tremendous overgrowth of environmental regulations, but the specific law that we're talking about, NEPA, which is the National Environmental Protection Act, actually precedes the EPA. It's 50 years old. It is the Old Testament of environmental extremism that has started the strain of everything that we see today. What Donald Trump is doing as part of his ongoing program to deregulate the economy is proposing new rules that will rein in the NEPA through the Environmental Quality Council, Council of Environmental Quality, which is the White House controls. What they're just doing is saying that all these regulations that go to court because they're so vague, and they say things like harm or cumulative, these phrases that you can drive a truck through, they are modernizing them so they have to be reasonable. And they're tightening up the process, so instead of taking 7 years to do an environmental impact study, you can only do, it has to be done in 2 years. And instead of having a multitude of different federal agencies overseeing these permits and these impact studies, it's just going to be under one. So instead of a government bureaucrat showing up with a clipboard and then saying, well, you're missing this, and then the other guy's got to come. You know, as we know, these projects, these major construction projects, pipelines, roads, bridges, power grid projects that require any kind of federal permitting can be held up for years, take 20,000, 30,000 pages of, studies, and cost hundreds of millions of dollars in delays. And there's absolutely no benefit whatsoever. All these studies of the environment, which people care about clearly, and how it impacts local communities, can be done in a year or two. So that's really what's at stake here, and it's a very important first step that's going to free up a lot of projects.
You know, Jerry, I'm so glad to hear that you said what you said and are very explanatory about it, but you used one word in your phraseology that I want to make a highlight on, and that's the word reasonable. Reasonable. There has been no rhyme or reason from the left. There has only been the want of a 7-letter word called control, and don't do anything because we're going to thwart it. Are we now at a point where we can be more reasonable, can use common sense? Those are two words that you won't find attributed to government. Do you see the things changing?
I think so. I think there's a strong movement among business and even local communities to see the federal government reined in, because it's regular people are getting harmed. I think, especially in urban areas, nationally, it's almost it's 80 some odd $90 billion of time that's wasted in cars. Because a lot of projects are being held up. And one of the things that they've always relied on is trying to show harm. Well, what is environmental harm? You can cut your grass, and that can cause environmental harm. Breathing in and out and releasing CO2 technically could be environmental harm. So, yeah, absolutely, the word reasonable is very important there, because it puts things in perspective. If you have a 2-lane state road and you want to expand it to 3 lanes, you don't need 7 years to look at the environmental impact. You're not going to be depleting the manatee population. You already have a pretty good idea of what the ecosystem is around that and what the impact is going to be. And so that is where the courts are going to, if they try to litigate these things, the courts are going to be held to these reasonable standards instead of these wide-open, cumulative harm standards that really can be anything depending upon who's sitting in the chair.
Well, I want you to elaborate a little bit on the storyline that you had within your story about the Bayonne Bridge in New Jersey. I mean, this is one of the greatest examples of idiocy, incompetency, and government control. They wanted to raise that doggone bridge 64 feet in order to allow larger ships to pass through, and take it from there and tell us what kind of incompetency there was involved in that rebuilding the bridge.
As you can imagine, it was 6 to 7 years of impact studies, 20,000 pages of assessments written, which I'm sure nobody read, and hundreds of millions of dollars in delays in construction costs. That really just for a bridge that already existed, and having been from New Jersey, I can tell you that it's not the delicate ecosystem that needs that heightened level of care. Clearly anything is going to have some kind of impact on the water routes and traffic, and you can see how people it might impact the communities that come back and forth across the bridge. But yeah, that's a pretty simple one. That's a layup as far as environmental impact studies go. Raising the bridge you're putting it higher in the air, and so the construction project itself, which is Bayonne and that area, central Jersey and New York, is a hotbed of construction constantly. Obviously, the population density, but that's what they do. The environmentalists will just look for. They really just want control over the economy. They want control over all these projects. They're not reasonable. They never say this is enough or this is good enough. They have to have their day in court. And in a lot of ways, it's a shakedown. In a lot of ways, it's just a way to control. You always find lawyers that are willing to take these things, too. So in many ways, these environmental regulations are a trial lawyer's jobs program. So that's the kind of stuff that we need to put an end to.
I would like you to elaborate a little bit more on another part of this story, and I maintain that the incompetency and the bowing to the altar of environmentalism is it's absolutely got to stop. We cannot progress as a nation until we tell these people, okay, we will give you 1 year of study, 1 year, and after that, if everything looks to be applicable to being a success and being of good nature to the environment, we're going to proceed as we want to. 1 year, that's all you get. But we are kowtowing to these people where they say in a lot of cases, if we go 5, 6, 7 years, out of sight, out of mind, and the public's going to forget the need for that perhaps subject, and they hope it'll die on the vine. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely, and when you have the threat of this litigation and these holdups and these strangleholds on projects, a lot of times they don't even get out of the ground, off the ground, because it's just not worth it. And the best solution really is to just eliminate this law. Again, it has no benefit to the public or the environment, and we've already got the EPA, but in this current makeup of Capitol Hill, that's not going to happen. So the president took the next best tack, which is to just neuter it by actually ensuring that the bureaucrats have to follow much more, narrow paths in order to, assess any kind of environmental impact on these projects.
Absolutely.
I would totally agree with you. I think that with what they're you weigh the cost and the benefit, and it is exceptionally skewed. I do quibble with you a little bit when you say that the incompetence, they're actually quite competent and skilled at slowing things down. Their goal really is to put a stranglehold on these projects.
Yes.
And so I never underestimate them, but the incompetence from the government in putting in regulations in place is certainly true, that they have not done a good job of facilitating the right rules. But the actual environmentalists, they're good at this. This is what they do all day. So
I bow to your verbiage. I bow to your verbiage. You are 100% correct in my correction. Thank you. We have a caller with a question, Jerry. Stand by. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, in lots of cases, the government, deep staters are in collusion with the environmentalists. Up in a small town called Pine, Idaho, the bridge was washed out or damaged to the point where it had to be removed, according to the Forest Service. And every time the small town of the not very rich Elmore County came up with a design for a bridge, it was rejected by the Forest Service. And in the end, they had to clear span a river that is wide, and it cost, not only did it cost them 3 or 4, let's say they had 3 environmental studies, and it took years, and it took like 3 years to get the bridge put back. And then they ended up clear spanning it, and it cost them that much more extra, but there wasn't really any good reason for it. And so here we have a situation where the deep staters and the environmentalists are working together, and they're raising hell with the regular people. And Elmore County took it on the chin, and finally the bridge is in. But I tell you what, they didn't even want them to rebuild it. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Jerry. Thank you.
Well, that's some of the real insanity of these regulations, is when there actually are projects that have already existed, and you want to repair, replace, or you have a bridge that's washed out, and you have a situation where there really is no other means. It's served a unique purpose. Those should be, again, the real easy ways that government can facilitate a project going right back up. But there are too many interests involved. There's too many people with their hands in the pot. You always got to follow the money. Any opportunity to serve a special interest that has maybe had their eye on a piece of land, or they raise money off of a particular cause, it's not in the best interest of the public, that's for sure, and it's not in the best interest of the economy. So it really is a very dictatorial situation where the people who are not really helping us are calling the shots. And, the caller's absolutely right about that.
Jerry, let me throw a scenario at you that is purely my own belief, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I've got broad shoulders. I can take it. I honestly believe there is not any of the Democratic Party, be it Schumer, be it Pelosi, be it Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Swalwell or any of them, that really want any money for infrastructure improvement in this country. And I'll tell you why. Because they are advocates of a energy policy that would take away the private concerns of travel from individuals. No more private car ownership, stay off the highways, no more burning of fossil fuels. And the least that they have to do for infrastructure is going to aid and abet more money for their health care for all, etc. Do you agree with me or not?
Well, I don't sit in their caucus rooms, thankfully. I think that there's a lot of truth to what you say, in the sense that they are not supportive of traditional economic transportation means, of traditional economic outputs like our energy and like transportation. They want to get rid of the internal combustion engine to a large degree. So they do have a lot of union voters, though, that would benefit from these construction projects. So they don't really take very principled stands on these things to begin with. And it might depend on who the politician is and what area they're in. But there was supposed to be shovel-ready jobs from the Obama administration, and that was supposed to fix our infrastructure. And we don't know where that money went. So. It's very possible. I wouldn't disagree with it. I don't think they want to see more cars or trucks on the roads. They don't like pipelines. They don't like anything. And I think controlling the infrastructure and the energy industry is really a top priority for them.
I think what we're seeing starting at 1 o'clock Eastern Time this afternoon is absolutely indicative of hatred for any progress in this country. They want a retroactive tax, more money for their frivolous programs, and that's what the Democrats are standing on. Let me ask you this question. We're seeing goodness. We're seeing goodness prevail in the Trump administration as far as the repealing of stupid regulations, and we're seeing growth. But now, look in your crystal ball, Jerry. Wow. What happens in November of this year if we get someone like Elizabeth Warren or wild-haired Bernie or Biden? Everything is up for grabs at that stage, right?
Well, it depends who gets control of Congress as well. But if you have somebody like Bernie or Elizabeth Warren, the economic indicators, the people who do this for a living forecast a downturn. We look at what's going on right now with the recovery and the strength of the economy under President Trump. So if you do the opposite of what he's doing, as they promised to do, then you are likely to get the opposite results. And it's going to really squeeze the free market. It's going to squeeze consumers. You're just going to have an insatiable government that's unleashed on the public. It'll create a tremendous amount of uncertainty, too. So investment and our competitiveness on the global economy is going to be hurt. They just want to forgive all debts. They want to wash and make other people pay for it, or they just want to, they don't even have to print money. They can just manufacture it. So they really don't have sound economic policies with their Medicare for Alls and their all their loan forgiveness. There's absolutely no way to pay for it. These are delusional ideas, and they're not based in reality. And people should be very concerned about, and I think a lot of people are, but you're absolutely right in the sense that this would just be economic chaos if any of these policies were actually attempted to be implemented.
You mentioned delusional ideas and thoughts that they want to promote into a realism if they're elected. But I go back and I've asked this question of many, many of my guests. The whole problem is our education system. We are not teaching our kids about the value of doing the right things, acting in the right manner, and trying to promote a healthy environment through usage, not just letting it decay and never to be used by future generations. Would you agree with that?
I think there's a real problem with education in the sense that people are becoming adults with absolutely no idea how the economy works, how their fortunes and how their livelihood and their well-being and their quality and standard of living are tied to our economic system. They are constantly given information about how the free market is evil and does all these terrible things. It pollutes, it discriminates, and you get that in the movies and the TVs, and it's, you can learn a lot of things in school, I guess. They come out after 18 years from the public school system, and they have absolutely no idea how to balance a checkbook, what the stock market is, what the free market is. So these ideas can sound appealing to them. Thank God once people actually go into the workforce and work for a living and see what taxes are taken out and how they have to bust their ass to put food on their table or a roof over their head, do they get an education quickly? But that's a real failing on the educational system. That of all the things that you could learn, what is more important than knowing how the economic system you live in works and how to take care of yourself in it, how to plan for the future, how to make a living, and how to provide for yourself and your family. But people are absolutely economically illiterate when they graduate.
I certainly hope you'll consent to coming back on the program in the future. This gentleman is the Vice President of Consumer Action for a Strong Economy, Jerry Samika. I hope I said the name right. You are welcome here anytime, sir. God bless you, and thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, Zeb. I'd love to come back anytime.
All right, sir. Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm so glad we had him on the program. He was scheduled for yesterday, and then I ended up in the hospital, and we had to cancel the program, etc. But a very interesting man with his town hall writing of, it's time to modernize archaic environmental rules. Amen. I'll second that. I want to remind you about some really good friends of ours and yours over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, boy. You know what I'm going to tell you. They've got all the snowmobiles. They've got all the snow bikes. They've got all your accessories. I mean, hey, come on. You've been cooped up in your job all week long, and on the weekends, let your hair down and get on one of those snowmobiles or snow bikes and just have a great time. Like I said, they've got all the accessories to go along with them, and they've got a super service department to keep you running at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. This is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Absolutely. Want to also give a great big thank you to our dear friends, and they have been our dear friends for I don't know how many years. I'd say 15, 16 years on this program, and that's Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward and his family and his staff, serving you at 710 6th Street in Rupert. I really urge you to get a hold of them and talk to them about memorial headstones. Oh, they provide beautiful, beautiful memorial headstones, and every family that they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. We're talking about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Really, really nice folks. Quick note, too, that while you're over in that neck of the woods, don't forget, I know some people that can serve you with the best of insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more from our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I'm telling you, the only thing you need to do is just pick up the phone and give them a call. Make an appointment and make sure that you, your family, and your business are protected. They're very responsive to your needs. Number 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Outstanding, folks. I have a note here from my dear friend Sharon Wilmot, and it's going to be the 6th annual Soil Health Workshop for 2020. Let's see, is going to be Thursday, February 6th, and it's going to be at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center at 800 North Overland in Burley. They do need to hear on an RSVP program how many folks are going to be coming, and the number for the 6th annual Soil Health Workshop, please call for an RSVP, is 208-572-3369 or 208-436-4202. Be sure and put that on your list of must-do for today. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we're all set for our next guest, and I'd like to say a good morning to Allison, and I'm going to probably say her name wrong, so I'm going to ask her to correct me. Allison Centofonte, Director of External Affairs. Pardon me?
That was perfect.
Oh, well, thank you. You just built my ego up this morning. That makes me feel a lot better. She is the Director of External Affairs at Live Action. Good morning, Allison. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, I wanted to get right into this program, and I would like you to explain a little bit about Live Action. What does it mean, and what's your involvement as a director?
Thanks so much. Well, Live Action is a nonprofit organization. I'm our Director of External Affairs, and I get to wake up every day and try and educate on the reality of what abortion is, what it does to preborn children, to women, to families, and we're working to end abortion, to take care of women, support pregnant moms. And we know, our studies show that when people realize what abortion is, they change their minds as well. So every day I'm seeing people's hearts and minds being changed, commenting and saying, I had no idea until I watched this video or this speech. And it's just such a joy. So we have grown over the last 10 years. We're quite young, but we're doing a lot of innovative new things. And we've grown the largest following in the pro-life movement, as well as the largest following out of any pro-abortion organization. So we've got this massive reach, and we're doing work every day to make sure everyone who is reached understands this issue inside and out and is activated on how to take care of women and children and to speak up for the most vulnerable among us.
Absolutely. Well stated. I've got a bunch of naive questions I want to ask you this morning. Abortion, to me, is just nothing more than murder in almost all circumstances. And where are we right now with the Trump administration for the last 3 years and what we saw prior to the Obama administration? Basically, they had a complete, in my opinion, lack of respect for life, especially for the newborns. Where are we right now, and where are we headed?
Yeah, great question. And look, we know that abortion ends the life of a child, of a human being, like you just said. We know that through medical technology. We know that through prenatal development. We also know that through the stories of women who are still recovering from their abortion, even decades later. They know something was lost, right? A life was lost. It's not like any other procedure. And so, yes, a life is lost, and because of that, we want to protect them all. So the status of abortion in our country is varying. Some states, like New York and others, are extremely pro-abortion. Some states, like Alabama, are stepping up and trying to protect children, trying to write it into their state constitution that they will take care of these children. But it's been an eye-opening 2019 and I think into 2020 of realizing that we, as the United States, allow abortion right now through all 9 months of pregnancy for any reason. And that puts us in the league of only 6 other countries who allow abortion after 20 weeks. And those are not good neighbors. Those are countries like North Korea, China, countries that have a long lineage of other human rights abuses. And so we are quite liberal in our treatment of these children and how we take care of them. And people are waking up and saying, no, we can do better. We must do better, not only for the children, but for the women that are being exploited by this multi-million-dollar industry that speaks a really loud voice to girls of all ages. And so that's another part of the work that Live Action does, is to say, hey, look, there is a multi-billion-dollar organization led by groups like Planned Parenthood that are trying to profit off of your moment of vulnerability. That moment of vulnerability, which if you were supported, women say they would, if one person reached out and supported them, they would choose life. But instead, they're hearing this very loud voice from an industry that makes money off of their pain, their that moment. Pro-life movement doesn't make money off of advocating for life, right? If anything, we're trying to give ours away and actually help these women in choosing life and taking care of their families. So, revealing the abortion industry, revealing just how wild we are with our treatment of abortion and what we allow in this country, it's changing hearts and minds, and it's saving lives, too. Just babies' lives, and we got some great testimonials from girls.
Let me say this and see if you agree with me or not, Allison, but I was a little bit more than shocked in the 7 Democratic debates, and I bear no cross for the Democrats. Let me tell you something. I absolutely am against any and all of their platform policies. I was surprised at the news media, the people that are supposed to be asking the questions of a potential leadership of this country. I don't recall, maybe I'm wrong, one single question to any of the Democratic candidates so far about abortion or what happens with the rights of our children in this country. Am I wrong, and why have they overlooked this?
You're not wrong, and we're tracking completely. I mean, maybe they didn't ask because they didn't want to be bored by the same answer from every candidate, but the reality is they should be asking to reveal and show America that every single Democrat candidate right now is for abortion in some way, and a majority of them are for abortion through all 9 months. The only person that I've seen have any sort of nuance is maybe Tulsi Gabbard, and she's at least saying, well, maybe late term I would restrict. And she's gotten demolished by her party for that. Just that nuance, that thought. We at Live Action are nonpartisan. I would welcome the Democrat Party to become pro-life. We will work with anyone who's willing to protect children, right? But here's where we're at. the Democrat candidates right now running for president have one belief, and that is that you have to murder in order to succeed. And that's what they're willing to say. That's what they stand behind. And that's way further. That's way further than the majority of where Americans lie. The majority of Americans want some restrictions on abortion. They have these constant, thoughtful questions and issues with the way we treat children. And they're wondering things like, well, how do we take care of them? And what would actually change a woman's mind? And what does support look like? Those are good questions. And so we at Live Action, we lean in on that and we say, look, the reason you're struggling with that is because there's a life there. And yes, we need to answer those questions. Let's take care of children and women and change some of our societal structures in the workforce so we can support moms and dads who want to have families. Yes. But we don't need to wait for all of those answers before we do the right thing and protect children. And just with it being the day after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I'll say it like this. We did not wait to end slavery until we had jobs for everyone set up and health care set up. No. We did not wait. Martin Luther King Jr. did not wait to do the right thing, right, in advocating for not just, obviously, the abolishment of slavery, but the abolishment of segregation and the equal treatment of human beings. What the pro-life movement is doing right now is what he did with civil rights for black people, is we're saying, look, these are human beings. They deserve equal treatment under the law and in society. And we're not going to wait until behind the guise of, well, we don't have all the answers, and I'm just going to be pro-abortion until y'all figure it out. No, we do the right thing now. Justice cannot wait. Justice should not have to wait for these children. So that's kind of our rallying call, and that's what I was inspired with yesterday. With it being MLK Jr. Day, we put out a really beautiful video. I encourage anyone to check it out. It's on Facebook or Instagram, and it's Martin Luther King Jr. talking about that justice, the need to know that there's something right, and you stand up for that. And we laid that over the beautiful marches that he led and the March for Life that will be happening this Friday of just civil rights, human rights issues that we need to address and take action on.
You know, Allison, I think it goes without saying that you'll agree with me on this subject, that whether it is the babies in the womb or whether it's elderly senior citizens sitting on a porch in their latter years, our society, disgustingly, has developed a Hemlock Society attitude to where they don't care about life at the beginning and they certainly don't care about life at the end. This has got to stop.
Absolutely. Well said. It crosses it over from preborn lives to the end-of-life issues is the way we treat each other, the way we look at people's worth. And I handled some of our media interviews, and a reporter recently asked, what gives people value? Why treat people with human dignity? And that's something everyone should think about. And I was just really inspired. Our president and founder, Lila Rose, she responded, people have dignity because they are human beings. And everyone should be treated with that dignity. So from womb to tomb, from beginning of life to end of life. And we at Live Action are focused on that, of restoring and revealing the dignity of every human life, that your value, and maybe someone needs to hear this morning, but your value does not come from your productivity. Your value does not come from your ability to produce or create. We think of so many beautiful children who have disabilities that they don't produce or create in the same way that we do, but they have amazing worth and value. They bring something to society that no one else can. And so part of our job, if you believe in life, if you believe in human dignity, is reminding people of that.
Yes.
Every life, no matter what you contribute, produce, or do, is worth the value of being acknowledged as a human being. That dignity and value is inherent and should not be touched and terminated by the powers that be. So no innocent life should be lost at the hands of the abortion industry, and that's what we're working to do.
Absolutely well stated. Allison, we have a caller with a comment. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Please, go ahead.
Yes, Michael Bloomberg, for some reason, is advertising in Idaho, which makes no sense at all, but, whatever. He last night, I noticed during the local news, he said he was 100% pro-choice, and I thought, what exactly does that mean? And I'll hang up.
Allison, talk about that, what the caller questioned, if you would, please.
Sure. So, great question, and I think it's great that everyone's paying attention. We should be paying attention to what our politicians are saying. Someone that says they're 100% pro-choice should be asked that very question. What does that mean? And I would bet money that they would just stumble over their answer because they would have to reveal that they are absolutely okay with abortion for any reason at 8 months, 9 months. Some of these, unfortunately, politicians have advocated that abortion should be available after the child is born if that child is not wanted. If that child survives the abortion, we have asked as many times as we can, should that child that survives the abortion, like Gianna Jessen and others have survived, should they be taken to the hospital? And the pro-choice movement, pro-abortion movement will say, no, that's a decision between the mom and the doctor about whether they leave the child there to die, which we know has happened and has been happening for a long time. So I would want to go explore that with Mike Bloomberg and see if he can articulate it. But that is not where most Americans are. And if they think they are, I think going in deeper on what prenatal development looks like, what viability looks like. And I'll end on this note. There are so many people wanting to adopt a newborn right now, Zeb, but they cannot because of abortion. Isn't that fascinating? Mm-hmm. There are couples waiting to adopt newborns, but there's a lack of supply of newborns because of abortion. So let's just put in our perspective that we are ready to take care of these kids. There are people that would love to do it. There's people that stand outside abortion clinics and say, I'll adopt your child. And so not only are we pro-life, we're pro-adoption, and that's what we should be pushing our politicians for, not 100% pro-choice, which leads to very, very scary outcomes.
One final thought, and please, I know that you probably have other interviews to take care of, but I've got one other question. When it comes to Planned Parenthood, I absolutely abhor any of my money going to support their heinous deeds. I think if more Americans would take the time and the effort to understand what Planned Parenthood is and what they promote, I think there'd be an outcry to cancel any and all checks from our government. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Most Americans don't realize that Planned Parenthood, the nation's leading abortion provider and industry, receives $1.2 to $1.4 million of federal taxpayer funds every single day. Not year, day. Imagine what we could do with $1.2 to $1.4 million every day to take care of babies, to take care of women, to help with schools, to help with food, to help with all these things, right? But instead it's going to the abortion industry. And once they know that, they get it. They want to defund Planned Parenthood of taxpayer dollars and all abortion entities as well. We at Live Action have said for years, and we will continue to work towards and demand that no abortion provider receives taxpayer funding. We should not be funding the destruction of preborn children. So we're working really hard on that, and thank you for knowing that and continuing to expose it. I'm proud of Lila Rose and Live Action for doing undercover investigations into the abortion industries. My boss, Lila, went in with a camera, talked to some of these employees and managers, caught them on camera willing to lie about prenatal development, accept racially based donations for black babies, willing to aid and abet sex traffickers in order to procure an illegal abortion. They're willing to bend over backwards to get your money for that abortion, in fact, and break state and federal laws to do so. And those videos, in part, helped catalyze the push to defund Planned Parenthood. So we keep on with that. And if anyone hasn't seen those, I encourage them to check them out on our YouTube page. You can go and look up Planned Parenthood investigations and see. But that is amazing journalism that shows you the inside of a place that I hope no one has to go to.
I really appreciate that. We've got time for just one quick call. Caller, I've only got a minute and a half left. Please, you're on the air. Go ahead.
It will be quick. If we end all abortions, or virtually all abortions, what happens to those babies who, for the most part, are unadoptable for health reasons, other problems that they might have? What's the solution for them? I'll listen off the air. Thank you.
Good question. Allison, please respond to the caller.
Sure, I want to make sure I heard it correctly. So the question is, if we do end abortion, what happens to babies who are born with fetal abnormalities, like I'm assuming Down syndrome, or maybe are not going to live long after birth? Is that the question?
I think in a semblance it was, and what are we to do with them when they don't have the adoption of those children?
Sure. Okay. So a couple things there was really interesting. And it's a good question. But first, the premise is a bit wrong. There are people that have dedicated their lives to adopting the quote-unquote unadoptable.
That's right.
I know these people. They have adopted 10, 15, 20 babies who may not live long after birth, and made sure that they have a loving home for the time that they're with us here. So I don't think the premise is fair on its face, because there are people that are willing to, that maybe they had siblings who had, fetal abnormalities, and that's their calling. They want to lovingly see these children through to the other side of life. So that's the first thing. Then secondly, I would say there's a very slippery slope to say that abortion is, in the case of fetal abnormalities, is needed. We have done some great educational videos on this with a neonatologist named Dr. Kendra Zorzi. And she talks about how a couple things, sometimes these diagnoses are wrong. People abort a child that actually had nothing wrong with them. And number two, that if the diagnosis is correct and these babies are delivered, that the mothers and fathers do better when given a chance to have closure with their child. They do really beautiful things now with recording their heartbeat, taking pictures, having that moment of closure versus a secret to keep. And there's a story of two sisters who had children with the same fetal abnormality that would have made them probably die quickly soon after birth. One sister chose abortion, and the other chose what's called neonatal care and palliative care, kind of like you do with an old person, hospice a bit. And the one sister who aborted said, "Sis, you have a story to share and pictures and a memory, and I have a secret."
Mm-hmm.
And that's always affected me. That is not an easy road to walk. I don't wish it on anyone. But you have to look at how people do better, and the data shows that people do better to have closure with their child, to meet that child, than to have a secret and always wonder.
Yes.
That's my answer for that question.
Allison, I'm going to extend this just 2 more minutes because I'm way over my time. I've got one other caller on the line. Caller, you have to be very short and succinct. Go ahead quickly. You're on the air.
It's the same caller. I just want to do a quick follow-up, and that is this. While I believe there are too many abortions, the idea that once there are millions and millions of healthy, fully healthy babies without any problems, what's going to happen to those kids who aren't born perfect and who, at that point, I think will become much more harder to be adopted out by parents? That's one thing, I think it's a little naive to think that all those babies are going to be adopted, and we really need to realize what are we going to do with them once there are millions of other babies that are perfect and those children become less desirable by adoptive parents. Thank you.
First of all, there's no such thing as a perfect person, sir, but I'm going to have Allison respond. And Allison, please, I've only got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, sir, that you're coming from a good place. But right now it's very eugenist is what the ideology of where you're thinking is. It has led to really bad things in society, that we can only have, first, that idea of what you're saying of a perfect child or a perfect person, like that said, is not true. It's not what we're even striving for here. And secondly, that kind of thought process of what are we going to do with everyone leads to things like abortion, leads to things that kill people, that get rid of what you're concerned about, which is those who are not as smart, as quick, as fast, as capable. So in many ways, your ideology, it leads to what you don't want, which is what you're saying. You do not want those who maybe are have lesser ability to be harmed.
Let me interrupt here quickly, Allison, because I'm almost out of time. The gentleman said babies at birth. Well, let's talk a little bit further down the line, maybe at 2 or 3 or 4 years old, the developmental problems of maybe poliomyelitis, or whether it might be any other absolutely heinous disease. What are we going to do at that time? Say they're not going to be productive members of society, and we're going to just absolutely eliminate them from society? I mean, this is a hemlock society that I talked about earlier, and it scares me to death.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's why we educate. We have to continue to push back on that thought. I appreciate your listeners are great. These are good questions, but I can't encourage them enough. Jump online, go on liveaction.org, watch some of our educational videos that will speak to this. We're also working on an op-ed right now on population control, which is often used for this thought process of like, well, we don't have enough resources. We do have enough resources. We just don't have enough love.
There you go.
That's what we're trying to advocate for.
Wow.
Let's look out for each other. Let's truly take care of everyone. I know we're running short on time, but thank you so much for having me today.
Well, I want to say that you are welcome anytime, and when I call, I certainly hope you'll come back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm going to say your name again. I'm going to try to end on a high note. Allison Centofonte, Director of External Affairs at Live Action. God bless you, my dear, and thanks for being on the program.
Thanks. Have a great one.
Thank you. Very interesting half hour. Thank you for all your input out there in Radio Land. And right now, as you can tell, I'm late. Wheels says, Zeb, the weather. You got to get the weather on. The weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. These are really, really top-notch people, professionals that are providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area, and they have for over 50 years. I mean, they're the best. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all for you, your family, and your business. They've got 2 offices to serve you, one in Burley, the other one in Rupert. Please don't hesitate. Talk to the best, work with the best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mostly cloudy skies and maybe some rain showers for the end of the day, and it's going to be warming up as we make our way through the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies today. 30% chance of rain showers by later on this afternoon. High of 40 tonight. About a 60% chance of rain and or snow showers likely. Accumulations of less than a half of an inch possible. Expecting a low of 30. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies. High of 38. Mostly cloudy 42 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, very slight chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the low 40s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, I appreciate it. Don't forget January, the time to file those 1099s and W-2s for the contractors and employees, and you better take care of it. Questions, call the best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. You get a hold of those good folks today. Real quick, I want to tell you about somebody else before I run to the news, and that's our friends at 7K Metals. I am a believer in purchasing silver, and I'll tell you why. Because I think you can build your own financial security, create your own bank, if you will, and help provide for your future. And it's also a great savings opportunity and a valued treasure for your loved ones in your family. I'm telling you, I know some folks that can tell you all about 7K Metals and the purchases of silver that will come right to your home. Contact Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. Tell them I told you to call. Please tell them I told you to call, and they will help you just like they helped Deanne and I with silver purchases from 7K Metals. You be sure and do that today. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels, and we'll be back after the CBS News. Oh, good morning and welcome back. And the lost is found. And he's sitting right across the table from me. We're going to have Dr. History on the air in just a few minutes. But first and foremost, I want to remind everybody about your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they are our major sponsor on this show. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires, and also including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And some really, really nice folks at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh my, this is a beautiful 12-bedroom home, and they provide 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping for the seniors, and local transportation. What are you waiting for? Your friends are there. You should be too at Greystone Crossing. Call Kelly or Matt Wiggins at 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979, and let them take you on the guided tour of Greystone Crossing Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And literally one of my good friends on the air, and he has a segment we started years and years ago when still we relied upon the horse and buggy. Dr. History, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. Good to see you again.
I'm
bright and cheerful.
Glad to be here, believe me, yes.
Glad to have you here. Before we start, I want to say hi to 4 people.
Okay.
All right? Megan, who sent me some information about a horse called the Moyle horse.
The Moyle horse.
No, I'd never heard of this horse, but she sent me some information about that.
Okay.
I want to say hi to Mark and his wife. They are in Nevada, and they travel around to all the historical sites. Greg, who's in New Orleans, and appreciate his comments. And then Phil up in Vancouver. A while back I did a story about a guy named Billy Miner, and there's a pub called the Billy Miner Pub in Vancouver.
Seriously?
And he sent me a picture of that pub.
And all of them listen to this program.
They do. They do. It's amazing.
I just absolutely am amazed as to, and by the way, old Zeb wants to say hello to you too, and I hope you're having a great year. But man, I tell you what, we appreciate that. Did they send you any story ideas?
Not really. But, well, yeah, they do. I have people that will send me suggestions. So, yes, I
have the same thing. People send me a lot of suggestions, too.
Yeah, but you're still going to stay on the air. So, here we go, Zeb.
Okay.
Let me just put this picture in your mind. Wouldn't you love to have been there?
Okay.
With the stagecoach comes running in, the cloud of dust, the horses are covered with sweat and dust. They've just been chased by outlaws or Indians, and wouldn't you love to have been just standing there watching the excitement of that stage come running in? And
that depends on whether the Indians are right behind them.
Yeah, well, hopefully they weren't. But, you know, those days are gone, obviously. The days of the stage driver cracking his whip over the horses and going over the sand, the mountains, the trails. And, of course, there's no really old-timers left that actually saw any of that happen. But,
you know, though, here, I got to show you this picture. Okay. I meant to do this the other day when you were here of Ray Bagby and the stagecoach that he built. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. He's restored that stagecoach really, really nice.
That is a prime picture on my desk here, and it makes you wonder, you know, when they talk about galloping in and going over hill and dale, the guys that could stay up on top of those stagecoaches were amazing.
They were. But, you know, there's been stories that have been passed down over the years, and we're going to talk about one of those stagecoach stories. But we got to start with a place called Martin's Wells. Okay, now this was a relay station, one which had more than its share of danger. In 1867, Lieutenant John Martin, a native of Caledonia, New York, joined the U.S. Army. His tour of duty brought him to the Southwest, and it was during this hitch that he crossed the, you might have to help me with this, the Jornado of New Mexico. Let me go on a little further, and maybe you'll be able to help me on that. It's a hot, waterless piece of desolation. It's in the shadow of the Caballo Mountains.
How do you spell that, Jornado?
Jornado. Jornado of New Mexico. Yeah. Anyway, during the war with the Apaches, and again when he was in charge of the military escort, which accompanied the U.S. mail north from Las Cruces, he passed over this area several times. Now, when he was done with the Army, he returned once again, and he was determined to homestead in this desert area, and they called it Ailman, in memory of his father, who was born in Germany. Now, people laughed at him because John Martin was starting to dig a well in a place where nobody thought it was possible.
And this was in this area, this desert area.
Yeah. But as impossible as it was, he did succeed, and after only digging to a depth of 86 feet by hand. So happy was he with his success, he started another well and struck what he called it was white gold once more at 120 feet. That's a long ways down to dig.
Did he dig this all by himself?
Well, I'm going to tell you about that a little bit.
I figured you would.
Okay. So with this victory, the ex-soldier established a ranch and a relay station long to be known as Martin's Wells.
Huh.
Now, so the name Jornada del Muerto is translated loosely from the Spanish, meaning journey of the dead man. So this desert place, people died trying to cross it.
Muerto.
Yeah, Muerto.
Yeah.
Because the conquistadors had to cross it to make it from Las Cruces to Socorro, New Mexico. Does that help you geographically a little better?
It's not far from, I think, the Kit Carson National Forest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it was the name given by the Spanish conquistadors to the Jornada del Muerto Desert Basin, and it's a 100-mile stretch.
Wow.
Of this route, and you had to make sure you drank a lot of water with your animals and your horses and everything before you headed out, because there was no water to be found for that 100 miles.
Wow.
Now, so he had some workers, okay? Now, there was no sign of water to be found in the well. They were digging, going down through rock. I mean, this wasn't just dirt. Well, the end of the day came one day when Martin looked down into the hole where the men were drilling in the solid rock. And he basically was about ready to give up. One of the guys said, well, they were using dynamite. So he said, shall we load up the hole we're putting in and try one more blast? The foreman asked. Well, the blast went off while they were seated themselves at dinner. The meal was eaten, and some of the men helped to bring in and harness the mules. The others started to pack the wagons. One man kind of sauntered over to the well hole, and he looked down to see what the blast had done. Well, the well was half full of water, and the water was still rising. The last blast had opened up the rock down to a water vein, and Martin's fortune was made.
I've got to ask the question here. Was it a company that this man owned, this Mr. Martin?
I think,
and what was the purpose of him thinking that there was water out there?
I don't know what his thinking was, but he wanted to establish a ranch or out there.
So he went at this and really didn't have any clue.
No, and he was on his own. He didn't.
Wow.
So he must have had some money, but all the great wagon traffic and the stages over this had to pay him a toll. Now, maybe that was his...
I see.
And his well was really a mine of wealth to him. The charge per horse or ox for watering was 25 cents, and the long wagon trains, which constantly crossed the desert, the profits counted up fast. One class of travelers, however, the Apaches never paid a toll to Martin.
Yeah.
Okay. They would come to the well, usually by night, water the horses, and ride away, but they never bothered anybody.
There's a commodity of water that was absolutely a necessity to stay alive.
Exactly.
And you would think that he would have had trouble trying to enforce that pay the quarter.
Yeah, but, evidently it worked. So now we've established Martin's Well. Now I'm going to tell you the story that happened there.
The story.
So because the Indians in the neighborhood were numerous and they were kind of hostile, Martin built his adobe building in the shape of a block U. Okay, so picture this. It's a U-shaped. The open end was soon protected by an adobe wall 8 feet high and 24 inches thick. Between two of the buildings, he left a gap just wide enough for a stage and team to pass through, and closed it with a thick wooden gate. So if you kind of got this picture, it's a U-shape, but on one end, it's open with this big, thick gate, okay, just wide enough for a wagon. And it was through this gate that the Point of Rock stage from 20 miles away made its entrance after a rough run. Now, Martin remained at this ranch until 1875. He engaged in the business of stock raising, and in that year, he finally moved to Santa Fe and remained there until his death in 1877.
Wow.
Now, the station continued to operate after he left and brought protection and rest to all these weary travelers. And there's a lot of stories that have been told and are buried with those who told them. But one of these stories has lived through the years, and it concerns a driver by the name of Jacoby and his encounter with Indians during a run.
Oh, boy.
Okay, Jacoby was a stage driver.
Yeah.
All right. Now, stationed at the Point of Rocks relay station, Jacoby would wait the arrival of the stage from Mesilla, New Mexico.
I think it's, I'm not sure on that one. I'm not sure.
Upon its arrival, he would hitch up his team of 6 black horses. Can't you just picture that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Last-minute passengers would be put aboard, and away they would go on the 20-mile run to Martin's Wells. Now, not much is remembered of Jacoby except that he was always seen with a pipe in his mouth and that he was as proud of his horses. Most of his spare time he spent taking care of his horses, currying them. And you know how a horse looks when it's curried down, shiny, just beautiful animals. So, anyway, as the story goes, the stage from Mesilla was late, a little over 3 hours late, to be exact, and everybody was a little worried for fear it had been attacked by Indians. And Jacoby kept watching over the horizon to see if he could see that stage coming in. Now, here's a term I may need some help on. They refer to a guy called a drummer, and I couldn't find anything about him.
A drummer?
Yeah.
Drummers were people in the Old West that were like salespeople. They were like your vacuum cleaner salesman.
Okay.
They'd go all over trying to sell their goods.
Okay, so very good, thank you. A drummer was one of those waiting for the stage, and the delay was losing him money every minute. Then that makes sense, right? He seemed to be silently cursing the stagecoach, the Indians, and everything else about the territory of New Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, in time, the stage arrived. It had been late in leaving Mesilla, and heavy sands along the way had kind of slowed the horse's speed, and the driver brought word that the renegade Victoria had killed a man down below the Rio Grande and had then doubled back, and it was believed that he was in the vicinity of Martin's Wells.
That Indian you're talking about, that Indian chief Victorio, was feared and was featured in a lot of old Western movies.
Okay. Yeah, so he was kind of a bad dude, really. Yeah. Well, now the only passengers, other than the drummer, were 2 ladies on their way to the Ivanhoe mine in Grafton to join their husbands. And it was suggested that no word of the danger be spoken because they didn't want to scare these 2 ladies. All right? So here's the picture. You got the drummer up there with Jacoby. He's up on top with him, kind of riding shotgun. And these 2 women inside the stage. Well, Jacoby hitched up his team of horses, which were raring to go, tossed on the mail, then he yelled to the drummer to hurry up. That time was a-wasting. By previous arrangements, the drummer rode up on top with Jacoby as a shotgun guard, and it is assumed that for this duty he probably got to ride for free. They probably said, you ride up there with the shotgun, you can just ride for free.
They couldn't pay me enough.
That's right. Well, the first 15 miles went by without any problem, and much of the lost time was made up. It was not until Jacoby stopped his team for a short breather and a drink of water. And then something kind of out of the ordinary took place, okay? During this short little rest, the horses were kind of prancing and shying at some kind of unknown something. And you've been around horses, Ev.
All my life.
If the horse starts acting a little funny, you know there's something.
Something going on.
Something's going on. Anyway, Jacoby handed the reins to the drummer. He got down and looked the ground over real careful, and his eyes fastened on some tracks in the sand. Well, he jumped back onto the driver's seat, anxious to be off, and just at that moment, a loud, blood-curdling scream shattered the air, and Jacoby instinctively yelled one word, Victorio.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the warpath. All right. Now, it was from there, it was 5 miles to Martin's Wells, and Jacoby's whip would bark loudly as it snapped over the heads of his team. All the while, the drummer was firing his rifle into the charging mass of Indians, and with each report of his gun, an Indian seemed to fall from the saddle. And still they came a-charging after the coach, and arrows a-flying at the stagecoach. Now, mile by mile, the team ate up the distance until at last, through the gathering darkness, the protective walls of Martin's Wells came into sight. 2 miles. 1 mile. Well, it was nip and tuck all the way, and Jacoby prayed that they would make it.
I'm surprised those horses lasted that long.
5 miles. Okay. The yelling Indians drew closer. The horses, and again, you can picture this. They were lathered from head to flank. They gave their all in one last mighty effort. The stage was maybe 100 or so yards from the gates when a mighty yell of triumph welled in the throats of the Indians. Victory was to be theirs after all. The stage would have to stop for a few seconds in order that the gate could be opened to let them through. So picture this, the gate's closed, and they're being chased by Indians.
If you and I were driving, it wouldn't be.
Now, Jacoby had given this a little thought, but he made no effort to check his speed. It seemed as though the stage would crash the gate. Then, almost as if by magic, this mighty wooden gate swung wide, and the stage and the team entered without breaking stride. The cries of rage and madness which rent the air from the Indians was terrifying. Such perfect timing could never happen again. Now here's what happened. The person responsible for this miracle was a woman who had become alarmed when Jacoby's stage was overdue. Now she was kind of uneasy about this, so she decided to stand watch. And when she heard the noise from the desert, she realized what was happening. Okay? The gate had been opened at just the right time. During all the excitement, Jacoby had not been able to think of his women passengers, but now that the danger was over, he became a little concerned. Not once during the whole run had he heard a sound from the ladies, and he figured they'd been killed or badly wounded.
In the stage.
In the stage. So Jacoby opened the stage door, and there on the floor lay the bodies of the two women.
Wow.
Then, before anyone could say a word, a low moan was heard, and the apparent lifeless bodies stirred and sat up, rubbing their eyes. The ladies calmly asked if they had reached Martin's Wells.
Really? They were still alive?
They had fallen asleep shortly after leaving Point of the Rocks and had continued their nap through the whole terrible ordeal.
All the shooting and everything?
Yeah. And they're asleep in the stage. Now, there's a lot of stories about things that have been forgotten, but there's a few stories that remain. And anyway.
I've got to ask you at Martin Wells.
Okay.
Now, was this a garrison of cavalry, or was it private individuals, or who really was going to be on the parapets up on the walls and protect them?
Let me just show you a couple of pictures. And there was just a few buildings around.
Oh, my.
See, but there really wasn't like a fort.
Oh, my. That's the gate he went through, huh?
I don't know that. I think these are maybe some out buildings or something. I don't know.
Well, you say the outhouse, I doubt seriously.
No, that's pretty big.
Okay.
But anyway, this says this is the Martin Wells relay station right here, which must have been enclosed in this.
Now, is that still a relic of the past? Is it still there?
I don't know, because this story was written clear back in 1967. This is out of Frontier Times.
Wow.
From 1967. So I don't know that anything still exists.
Did the modern roads through that area, did they adapt to that trail that the stages use?
You know, most roads do follow like the Oregon Trail, the Santa Fe Trail. And again, a lot of those trails started out just as animal trails, and then the Indians followed them, then the stages, and one thing and another.
You know, there's so much about our past and so much about our history. That's why I really relish having you on this program. All these different stories. Now, there again, the writing of these stories and the passing down of these stories, one questions the validity of a lot of these stories. But man, there's a lot of these kinds of stories about the stagecoach, etc. I'm sure there's many more.
And you know, the thing I like about these older magazines that I get, the Frontier Times, and True West, is I believe they're pretty accurate.
Well, when you look at 67, you said that's where you got that story.
Right,
in 1967.
Yeah.
We're only talking, and this is really something to think about, we're only talking 67 years from the turn of the century, from the 1800s to the 1900s. Yeah. That's basically an old grandfather's lifetime.
Right. And I'm looking at the date, if you forgot, was 1867 when Martin was in the Army and going through. So 1867, 8, 9, right in there.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty fascinating story about...
You know what my interest was and my concern when you were telling that story?
The horses.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
But,
how did they come out after that horrendous run?
And you know, you hear stories of horses that have run and run until they are broke.
They're gone.
They are no more, you know, and I've read stories of, and you have too, of guys that have no sympathy for the horse and they just run them basically to death.
Do you remember the John Wayne movie, Hondo?
Okay. I don't remember all the details.
Well, Hondo was, John Wayne played that part, and it's one of his most famous movies. And it was all about the Indian fighting, if you will, in the Southwest. The Indian chief that he went against in that movie was Vittorio.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I probably ought to do a story about him, about Vittorio. I don't think I've ever done one.
He was a very feared chief, but he was also known to be extremely fair.
Oh, yeah.
To the white men, even though they were at war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot. You know, some of the agents on the reservations took total advantage of the Indians, and others were very fair and treated them very well.
You know, what about stories like that closer to home here in Idaho? Did we have circumstances like that?
You know, of course, we did have stagecoaches that went through, but I don't know of any... Well, we did have a stagecoach robbery up between the Vipont mine and Oakley years ago, and I have told that story, but it was supposedly the last stagecoach holdup in Idaho, and it was actually robbed by the owners of the stagecoach.
Really?
The guy that owned the stagecoach knew that the payroll for the Vipont mine was going on a certain day, and so he and another guy robbed his own stage. When everything was said and done, he only got like $2.50 because the payroll had gone the day before.
That wouldn't even buy you an ice cream cone today.
No.
You know what we ought to do is put a plea out to anybody listening that has maybe relatives that lived here in the Old West, that maybe some of the stories we could check on and pursue.
Yeah, just go to my webpage, dr-history.com, and hit comments and send me your comments or suggestions.
All right.
That would be great.
Dr. History, an outstanding story. Thank you so much. And a great big shout out and a hello to all those people you mentioned earlier. That's it for today with Dr. History, but right now, before I send it over to Wheels, I want to remind everybody about Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Oh, these are nice people. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. They've got all your electronic needs, all your home theater systems, surveillance cameras, car stereos, and speakers. Oh, and by the way, the car audio systems, they've got all those new models in for this year. You better check this out right now today. All your television sets, all of this with nice people. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. The number to call, Curtis and Lorena and the staff, 678-6997. Right now, let's send it over to our main studio. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb back.
Oh, it feels so good to be back in the saddle again on the program. Thank you for all your kind comments. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, too, about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. They are having their huge, really big January flooring event. Carpet for your home, they've got it in various prices, various qualities. $69 for the standard carpet, $89 a month for the better carpet, and the premium carpet, $99 per month. Check it out. Great buys, along with the luxury vinyl for your entire home. Oh my goodness, don't put it off. For all your flooring needs, go to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. They've got all your flooring. They've got all your furniture, everything to beautify and comfortize your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland in Burley. They're waiting right now to serve you. Let's go to the phone line right now, and we've been trying to get this gentleman on our program for the last couple of weeks. And so, yes?
I apologize, but I am still trying to get him on the phone.
I just had a feeling, honestly, this kind of a gnawing feeling in the back of my mind that we were going to have trouble getting him on the air. We've tried for, I think, half a dozen times. Keep trying, would you please?
Will do.
All right, buddy. Thank you much. Deanne, if you could come in here and maybe call the promoter for this gentleman and his book, maybe we can do some research on this end, too. Calls are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give us a jingle, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. I guess my question is to you this morning, the listeners, and I would really appreciate your opinion. Are you wanting the impeachment proceedings to go on and on and on, or are you ready to tell the Democrats, listen, you had a chance to formulate your case. You had a chance with your hearings to lay forth all the information and the witnesses to go to the Senate and hand them a complete bill of goods as to what you wanted done. And now you want more. You want to expand it. You want to make it bigger, larger, etc. What are your feelings? Do you want to just tell the Democrats to take a long walk off a short pier? How do you feel about this impeachment proceeding as it starts in the Senate today? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'm going to make this quick. There's 4 senators, Republican senators, that are waffling about the rules. And one of them is Mr. Mitt Romney, the sheep in wolf's clothing. He is an absolute traitor. And then, of course, you've got the senator from Alaska, the senator from Maine, and I can't remember their damn names. And then there's one more, and I for some reason, I don't know who it is, and I need to figure that out.
Well, we're talking about Murkowski. We're talking, Randy, wait a minute. We're talking about Susan Collins. We're talking about Murkowski. We're talking about Mitt Romney. I don't have all the names either, but there are 3 of them. And I really, what are they wanting? What are they wanting? What are they saying? What are they demanding as far as a rules change? Have you really discerned what they want?
Oh, no. See, it's always liquid, Zeb, because they're going to... there's never any true north to any of this.
That's right.
It's just whatever they can figure out how they can do it and see whatever they can get away with. It's a joke, and they're a joke. And Mr. Mitt Romney, the people of Utah, I hope they wise up and dump that pile.
Whew, you had me scared there for a moment, and I'm still quivering.
I'm sorry. Okay. It's just, you spend all your day out here amongst the people and the men, and, sometimes the men speak plain. Huh?
And here's the other thing. Jim Jones, our illustrious former Idaho Attorney General and former Idaho Supreme Court Chief Justice, he wrote an article, How Can You Have a Fair Jury Trial Without Witnesses? And then he said this in one of his articles that I don't bear much credence to. The president should step forward to clear his name. Wait a minute. In this country, Randy, the last I looked, aren't you innocent until proven guilty?
I know. And President Trump's done nothing, and Jim Jones is a fraud, and Chris Houston in that paper, he's a fraud. I'd like to run into him, because I know people who live over there who grew up with Mr. Jim Jones, and they're worth a hell of a lot more money than he is. They're friends of mine. I do business with them. And they don't agree with one word that thing says.
Well,
Henry Jones, his father, never agreed with anything that Jim Jones says either.
I get a little bit upset at some of the writings, especially Jim's all of a sudden going to the top of the peak, top of the mountain, and being absolutely lauded by others, saying that he knows so much about climate change, etc. He doesn't know a doggone thing about climate change, and his facts and his figures, erroneous as they are, he puts in his op-eds. Well, the same can be said for many, many people, but I would like to know why we're giving so much credence to the Democrats and all the information that they were supposed to have gathered during their House hearings. Why do they want more all the time? And they seem to be dictating to Mitch McConnell and the other Republicans how they're going to run this trial in the Senate. This is insanity.
I tell you what Nadler and Schiff did was they just wrote the rules as they went, and we all know it to be the case. And McConnell needs to tell him to sit down and shut up, and he needs to take charge. But, I don't know, and I'm just hoping that he does, but I guess he'll be more of a gentleman than they ever were.
Well, here's the thing, Randy. You know as well as I do that in fairness to the situation, and I'm being more than fair and gratuitous to the situation, that the Democrats are going to present their case with their articles of impeachment, and then the defense, the GOP, is going to come back with a counterbalancing attack against that, and that should take approximately, they said, about the first 2 to 3 days of this so-called trial in the Senate. At that juncture, I think somebody should stand up on the GOP and say, okay, everything's been presented from your gathering of facts in the House, and I like now to have a vote to get rid of this one way or the other. And I think they should vote at that point.
It's going to peter out. It's going to run out of gas. It's not going to be a show that they hope. Let's face it. It's rope-a-dope. They're dancing in the corner with their gloves up over their face, and they have no plan, and they just hope they can somehow dig up some technical thing that they can use against Mr. Trump. And I just don't see how it's ever going to happen. It would have happened if it was going to a long time ago.
I agree, and thank you. Thank you for your call, Randy. Appreciate that. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, I wanted to answer your question on whether or not we wanted to see an unending trial. Now, while I do not want to see that myself, I do want it to go long enough that we can get Hunter Biden and Joe Biden on the stand to talk about them.
Okay, but I think you're absolutely going to elongate and exacerbate the feelings of the American public that I think they've had enough. I think they are turning away from this situation in its entirety. It's time to get on with the business at hand of serving the American public, not the other way around. And I think the longer this trial goes, the Democrats are always going to find another little carrot in the refrigerator, another onion they want to lay out in front of the American public. And I think now is the time to just look at the Democrats and say, okay, dudes, that's enough. Get back on your horse and leave Dodge City. This impeachment trial is over.
We run the problem, though, of the American public looking at this situation and saying, this was not fair on the Republican side.
Well, wait a minute, sir, wait a minute.
Their fiasco.
Oh, wait a minute, sir, I got to ask you this. I really want you to answer this question honestly and fairly.
Right.
The Democrats in the House had complete control over the House hearings, did they not?
Correct.
Did they not have complete control over the witnesses and the formulation of the case against Trump, right?
Yes.
When the hearings were over and they had written up the articles of impeachment, which were paraded into the Senate in the last few days, did they not give to Mitch McConnell and the Republicans a complete, underline that word, complete version of the articles of impeachment, right?
They delayed them, but yes, they did.
All right, then why is it fair to elongate it and say we want to change the rules, we want more witnesses, we want to open up more of a judicial action and more hearings against Trump? Why is that fair when they gave a completed issue of the articles of impeachment?
Just because somebody treats you the way you don't want to be treated doesn't mean you should return the act to them. It's time for the Republicans to be the grown-ups in the room and say, hey, look, we're going to have a fair and impartial hearing on this because we want the American people to realize that this process, at least on the Senate side, is going to be fair.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you to a certain extent. But if you're going to go in the legalities of what the House can and should and did do, when they handed those articles of impeachment to Mitch McConnell, did they not give him, in very crass language, a done deal?
Yes.
Well, then why elongate it?
That at all. You're right. I find that what they did was reprehensible. But again, I think the American people want to see a fairly fair hearing on the Senate side. Nothing that's just rushed. They could strictly say, we're just going to have a vote on this. We're not going to have any witnesses. We're not going to have any hearings. We're just going to vote up yes or no. And I think that causes a problem for the Republicans. I want them to have, I don't want it to be elongated. I agree with you. This doesn't need to be unending, but at least to the issues at hand, they need to try to address those within a few days. It doesn't need to take weeks. It can be done in a few days, and I would like to see everything above board.
I agree with you, and I thank you for your call, but I will say this and leave it this way, that when I finish a job and I expect to be paid for my job, I have given my employer absolutely everything for that respective job, just like the Democrats did with the hearing information to go to the Senate. I do not go back and say, well, you owe me more money because I'm going to do more of this later on and in the future. This is entirely the problem. The Democrats are rewriting the rules of what the Senate is and should be doing.
They should not do that. And I agree with you 100% on that. The Senate needs to decide its own rules. Thank you.
God bless you for your call, and I mean that seriously. I appreciate your calling in. Nice man right there, and I thank him. I'm just sick and tired of listening to Schumer and the Democrats, all Democrats that are putting their faces on the TV cameras, etc., changing the rules. Now, for those of you that are questioning what I might have said, the Democrats put forth in their own congressional hearings, all the supposed witnesses and what was said, what wasn't said, etc., and they wrote that up into articles of impeachment, and they presented it to the Senate. Now, they want to go back and add more to it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, what's going to happen, I think, is that they're going to decide if there's any interest by the ratings of the event, and I really wonder who in the cares. I just can't even imagine.
Let me ask you to define something, Randy. Randy, define what you said as ratings. Explain what you said.
Well, every time they do this, when they were doing the House impeachment hearings, they were constantly checking to see what the ratings were. Well, how many people were paying attention? Because they hoped to change public opinion against Mr. Trump.
That's exactly the point I wanted you to make.
It's not going to happen. And they just, like I say, they just don't know what else to do. You got to give them, credit for effort, I guess, because they just keep hammering.
Well, let me ask you, this is the point.
This is going to change. There's no way that the Senate's going to find him guilty. Dershowitz alone will tune him up, and I can't imagine how you could ignore Mr. Alan Dershowitz, who is as fair and objective as anybody.
Randy, here's the thing when you said ratings, why I jumped on that word. It's absolutely, totally offensive to me as a taxpayer and citizen of this country that right now, with all the things in the world that are going on, our robust economy, yet we have other nations that want to see our demise. Excuse me. I've got a frog in my throat. And we're worried about ratings. We should be worried about serving the American public and protecting the American public and making sure that the American public gets the best from our legislators. And these demented Democrats are worried about ratings?
Well, they're trying to get public opinion to change, and they're like I said, their playbook, they have no plays left. They're just, I guess they're throwing Hail Marys, but you've only got 3 downs or 4 if you want to lose the ball, of course. And so I don't know. It's a joke. They're embarrassing. I can't imagine that across this nation, secretly, that people who in front of their friends, they say they try to be, fair and objective, but when they go into the voting booth, they secretly pull the lever for Mr. Donald John Trump.
I hope you're right.
I believe that with all my heart.
I hope you're right.
It just seems like, the people that showed up yesterday in Virginia shows me, I don't know how many were there, but a lot. And they showed up to say, listen, Mr. Governor of Virginia, excuse me.
Mr. Blackface.
For the governor of Virginia.
Yeah.
And the rest of that state, Senate, and House. It's a joke.
Got to run, Randy, but I appreciate it. God bless you, man. Thank you. To the gentleman that called a little bit earlier, I agree with his comments, but fair. Define fair to me? If fairness says that the Democrats have had their time to garner the facts as they found them and put them together in articles of impeachment and then approach the GOP and the Senate and say, here are the articles of impeachment, that sounds fair to me. But is it fair at that juncture for the Democrats to cry foul and say, well, we have more information, we have more witnesses, and we have more things we want to add to already sealed documents of impeachment? That's not fair. That's not fair. We're going to go to the weather right after I tell you about a great place to go eat, and I'm talking about Edith's Cafe. I had a nice talk with these folks a couple of days ago, and I'll tell you what, every night they've got a dinner special that will knock your socks off. I mean, whether it's steaks or whether it's all kinds of tri-tip meals or smoked brisket on Fridays, oh my goodness sakes, and then during the day, the greatest of all the sandwiches and all the desserts. I'm hungry, I bet you are too. You better stop at Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley, right across from the golf course. And I urge you to stop in Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 8, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 9, for a great place to eat. Edith's Cafe. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don and the crew, and the number to call, 324-7657, and the website, scarrowsmeats.com. Absolutely all the delicious meats for you and your family and all your gatherings at Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mostly cloudy skies and maybe some rain showers for the end of the day, and it's going to be warming up as we make our way through the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies today. 30% chance of rain showers by later on this afternoon. High of 40 tonight. About a 60% chance of rain and or snow showers likely. Accumulations of less than a half of an inch possible. Expecting a low of 30. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies. High of 38. Mostly cloudy 42 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, very slight chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the low 40s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate that, Gina, and brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the number again, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I've got time for one more call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I guess on this impeachment hearing, we're going to be bored to almost death listening to some of the not so important news the next couple of days, and then it's going to get down, hopefully, to the nitty-gritty. But the bottom line is this: there has been no proof, none, nada, of any impeachable offense by President Trump. All of this has been conjured up by the Democrats with the likes of Eric Swalwell, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and many others of their ilk, especially Adam Schiff, that have since day one of the Trump administration made many references to the media that they are going to impeach Trump one way or the other. Today, that one way or the other starts. They have broken their own rules as far as the House of Representatives, and now they are trying to change and break the rules in the Senate. The Democrats are not to be trusted and not to be respected. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and I really mean they are serving everybody. You know, farmers and ranchers and dairymen, you don't want to be left with your equipment sitting out there with flat tires or bad tires. All the ag and dairy tires for the backhoes, the skid steers, everything are right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they've got their service trucks warmed up and ready to go to serve you on a daily basis. Don't forget all 7 locations of the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the best in tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for any and all vehicles. Absolutely. Tire chains to get you through the bad weather, the muck and the yuck, and of course don't forget the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. All 7 locations, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What's cooking for tomorrow on the program? Dave Bigo. And then one of my favorite people that just absolutely disarms all these climate change kooks, and that's Gregory Wrightstone's going to be on the program, and many, many more. So don't miss tomorrow morning's program. We've got a lot of things to cover. And then another quick reminder, this Thursday, I'll say it one more time, this Thursday is Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget America's Diner. Lunch Bunchers, I'm sorry, but I've been down the last couple of weeks, not feeling too good, and I didn't get all the promotion out for that I wanted to, but it's going to be Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant this Thursday at 11:30. We hope you're there. Whew, going to wrap the program up the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words we really pay tribute to on this program, In God We Trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless Zeb Bell at the ranch. Have a good day.